So, welcome to episode 2 of the Brain Builder audio series. The concept this time is the concept of price elasticity. In economics, a product or good is elastic to the extent that the price affects the demand for it. So, the more sensitive demand for a given product is to the price of that product, the more elastic that product is. And equivalently, the less elastic, the less price elastic a given product or commodity is, the less sensitive demand for it is to the price. Okay, so here's a concrete example. Suppose that the price of air is changed. Is that going to affect the demand for it? No, it will not, because there is infinite demand for air. And therefore, people will want air infinitely much, no matter what the price is. Therefore, air is inelastic. Okay, but what about luxury goods? So, for example, consider a handsomely bound edition of the works of Horatio Alger. There's certainly some demand for that, but again, it's going to be highly contingent on the price. So that would be an example of an elastic good. It was not a particularly good example, but obviously music by Britney Spears, although that too is a rather limited example. Bonbons, okay? There's going to be some demand for bonbons. And to some extent, actually, what is interesting, and this just occurred to me, is that when you're dealing with luxury goods, a lowering of price would actually, and again, I stress this is a new concept here. I'm going off message, but this is going to happen a lot. And in fact, actually, what I've found to digress within the digression, what I find as a writer and theoretician of many kinds, as somebody who produces content of many kinds, is that what initially seem to be digressions are actually where the real substance is, the leading idea, the main idea, the idea that it is my conscious intention to articulate turns out merely to have been a foil in most cases. Okay, but getting back on track with a lot of luxury items, if they were sold more cheaply, they would ipso facto cease to be luxury items and demand for them would decrease. And this is actually something to which I was blind when I first went into business. I had this very, very kind of bare bones utilitarian conception of what constituted value. And I basically did not really understand the distinction between value in use and value in exchange, to introduce another economic principle, which I will discuss in my next podcast. But again, the topic of this podcast is the concept of price elasticity. So here is an exercise for you. Think of 5 things that are price inelastic. Okay, so we talked about one, air. Okay, the other obvious example would be water, but there are others. And of course, there are degrees of inelasticity. But think of 5 things that are either absolutely or almost absolutely price inelastic, and then think of 5 things that are highly price elastic. So that's your exercise for next time.